John Lott, President of the United States just told Pritzker, yo, dude, you had 6 murders over the weekend, 20 people shot, the thing's out of control. I'm tired of hearing the mayor going Morning Joe, and Joe Scarborough asked him 5 times, hey, would you not like to have a little support at the federal level? Will not answer the question. President's had a belly full of it. Give me your assessment of how D.C.'s actually going versus what we're hearing on MSNBC, New York Times, Washington Post, and where do you think this thing is going? Where are we going to Chicago next, New York? Your thoughts, sir?
Well, look, this whole discussion isn't rocket science. If you want to reduce crime, what President Trump is showing clearly is you have to make it riskier for criminals to go and commit crime. We've seen huge drops in different violent crime categories since President federalized law enforcement in D.C. We just went 13 days without a homicide in D.C. The odds of that happening, if you look at the annual rate of homicides last year, the daily rate is 1 in 800. It's just an incredible drop. The mayor of D.C. yesterday announced that there had been an 87% drop in carjackings that had occurred. You had like a 25% drop in violent crimes overall. You had like a 44% drop in robberies. So, you basically have to have higher arrest rates, and Trump putting more boots on the ground. You had effectively about 400 patrol officers on duty at any point in time in D.C. Trump's effectively doubled that with the 500 officers that he's put in there, FBI, ICE, DEA, as well as over 800 National Guard officers that are there. I hope the rest of the country learns from this. It's just like with the border. They say, well, it's impossible. You can't control the border. And they said the same thing basically with regard to crime, where they'd say, look, there's no reason to get it down. There's all sorts of issues, as the administration's been pointing out, with regard to corruption, manipulation of the crime data. But even if you believe the crime data that they have there, it's been outrageous what the crime is that have been occurring there in D.C. If you look at the 25 largest cities last year, D.C. had a 28% higher homicide rate than the next worst city, Indianapolis. Democrats want to make D.C. a state. Our D.C.'s homicide rate last year was 169% higher than the worst state. It was 434% higher than the average for states. Democrats claim that they care about the poor, that they care about blacks. The latest data we have on the racial composition of the victims of murder in D.C. is up through 2021. 96% of the murder victims were black. Do they only care about Black Lives Matter when it's somebody other than Trump that's trying to save them? It's ridiculous in terms of the damage that's done to people's lives in these cities. And there's a simple solution. And, you look at the academic research on this, over 55% of the variation in crime rates is basically explained by making it more costly for criminals to commit crime. Higher arrest rates, higher conviction rates, longer prison sentences. Only a couple percent is due to variations in things like income or poverty or unemployment. And so, Mayor Brandon, the interview that he mentioned with Joe Scarborough, wants to go and talk about all this additional government spending that he wants to do on housing and everything else. That's not the issue. That's not going to make a big dent in these crime rates. And President Trump is pointing that out very clearly by showing what actually happens in practice.
Where do people go? Because this is going to be a major element post Labor Day as they roll out to Chicago, Los Angeles, and New York. And folks, that's coming. Okay, it's coming. Where do people go, John, to get your books, your writing, social media, all of it, sir?
Well, they can see all the data on the crime for different states and cities on our website at crimeresearch.org, crimeresearch.org. Thank you.
John Lott, thank you, sir.